Operation Junction City was the largest American ground operation of the Vietnam War. It unfolded between February and May of 1967 in Tay Ninh Province, northwest of Saigon, close to the Cambodian border. It was planned as a decisive blow, intended not merely to disrupt enemy forces, but to strike at the heart of the communist command structure in South Vietnam. The objective was to destroy the central office of South Vietnam, believed by U.S. intelligence to be the main headquarters directing Viet Cong and North Vietnamese operations throughout the South. The area chosen for the operation was no accident. Tay Ninh Province contained the Iron Triangle, a long-standing communist base area bordered by rivers, jungle, and dense vegetation. For years, the Iron Triangle had served as a sanctuary, training ground, and logistics hub for Viet Cong forces operating near Saigon. Previous operations had entered the area, inflicted damage, and withdrawn. Each time, enemy forces returned. By early 1967, American commanders believed that only a massive, coordinated operation could break the cycle. Operation Junction City was designed on a scale never before attempted in Vietnam. More than 20,000 U.S. and South Vietnamese troops were committed. Major units included the 1st Infantry Division, the 25th Infantry Division, the 173rd Airborne Brigade, armored cavalry units, engineers, artillery, and South Vietnamese forces operating alongside them. The concept was straightforward in theory. U.S. forces would move into the operational area from multiple directions, seal off escape routes, and conduct systematic sweeps to locate and destroy enemy headquarters, units, and infrastructure. The operation opened with a dramatic move intended to surprise the enemy and block withdrawal routes. Paratroopers from the 173rd Airborne Brigade conducted the only combat parachute jump of the Vietnam War. Dropping into landing zones north of Saigon, the airborne troops were tasked with establishing blocking positions and cutting off enemy movement. While the jump itself met little resistance, it was a powerful symbol of American confidence in conventional military solutions. Once the operation began in full, U.S. forces advanced across a broad front. Infantry units moved on foot and by helicopter. Mechanized units pushed through jungle and villages with armored vehicles. Engineers cleared landing zones and roads. Artillery batteries leapfrogged forward to maintain fire support. The scale of movement was immense. Helicopters filled the sky. Convoys stretched for miles. Fire bases were established, dismantled, and re-established as units advanced. Enemy resistance during the early phases was limited. Viet Cong and North Vietnamese forces avoided large-scale engagements, withdrawing deeper into jungle areas or slipping across the Cambodian border. When contact did occur, it was usually in the form of ambushes, sniper fire, or brief firefights. U.S. units responded with overwhelming firepower. Artillery and airstrikes were called in quickly. Positions were assaulted and cleared. Casualties were inflicted and enemy units disengaged. As Junction City progressed, American forces uncovered extensive evidence of the enemy's presence. Tunnel complexes were found beneath villages and jungle terrain. Supply caches containing weapons, ammunition, food, and medical supplies were discovered and destroyed. Training areas, base camps, and command posts were identified. Some tunnels extended for miles, complete with living quarters, hospitals, kitchens, and escape routes. Engineers worked methodically to clear or demolish them, often under hazardous conditions. Despite these discoveries, the central objective remained elusive. The main headquarters was never found. Intelligence reports suggested that enemy leadership had dispersed well in advance of the operation. Documents captured during the fighting indicated that communist forces had anticipated the attack and taken steps to avoid decisive engagement. Rather than defending fixed headquarters, enemy command elements relied on mobility, concealment, and cross-border sanctuary. As weeks passed, the operation settled into a pattern. U.S. units conducted repeated sweeps through the same areas, encountering fewer enemy forces each time. Firefights became smaller and less frequent. The Iron Triangle was declared cleared. Villages were searched, tunnels destroyed, and enemy infrastructure dismantled. On paper, Junction City appeared successful. Enemy casualties were reported in the thousands. Large quantities of supplies were destroyed. U.S. losses, while not insignificant, were relatively low given the scale of the operation. Yet beneath the statistics, the limitations of the strategy were becoming apparent. Once U.S. units moved on, there were no permanent forces left behind to hold the ground. South Vietnamese units lacked the manpower and resources to maintain a continuous presence across such a large area. Intelligence indicated that enemy units were already filtering back into cleared zones as American forces redeployed. The Cambodian border presented another challenge. Enemy forces could withdraw beyond the reach of U.S. ground troops. American commanders were aware of this problem, but political restrictions prevented large-scale operations across the border. As a result, Junction City could disrupt enemy activity, but not eliminate it. By May 1967, Operation Junction City drew to a close. U.S. units redeployed to other areas. The Iron Triangle once again was quiet. Official assessments described the operation as a tactical success. Enemy forces had been disrupted. Supply networks had been damaged. The threat to Saigon had been reduced, at least temporarily. Strategically, however, the results were far less decisive. Viet Cong and North Vietnamese units adapted, dispersing command structures and relying even more heavily on mobility and concealment. Within months, enemy activity in the region increased once again. The Iron Triangle, though damaged, was not destroyed. Operation Junction City became a case study in the limits of large-scale search-and-destroy operations. It demonstrated that American forces could dominate the battlefield. It also showed that such dominance did not automatically translate into lasting control or strategic victory. For the soldiers who took part, Junction City was a massive, exhausting operation, marked by long patrols, intense heat, sudden violence, and extended periods of waiting. Many never saw the enemy clearly. Others fought sharp engagements that lasted minutes but left lasting impressions. The scale of the operation was impressive, but the enemy remained largely invisible, choosing when and where to fight. In hindsight, Junction City represented a peak in American operational ambition. It reflected a belief that the war could be won by finding and destroying enemy forces and headquarters through superior numbers and technology. Operation Junction City did not fail in a conventional sense. It achieved many of its immediate objectives, but it did not deliver the decisive outcome its planners hoped for. Instead, it highlighted a fundamental reality of the Vietnam War, that an enemy without fixed headquarters, willing to avoid battle, and supported by external sanctuaries could not be defeated solely by large-scale operations, no matter how well planned or executed. In that way, Junction City stands as both an achievement and a warning. It showed what American forces could do at the height of their power in Vietnam, and it revealed the limits of that power in a war defined not by territory taken, but by endurance, adaptation, and time.